Is it possible to be a competitive athlete without letting the sport determine my sense of worth? Can I separate the person I am from my performance in the athletic arena? Is it possible to feel successful apart from my scores and my stats and my scholarships? Well, come along as we explore those very questions on this season of the Kondospeaks podcast. We'll be chatting with high-profile collegiate and professional athletes to hear how they have navigated the balance between performance and person. Well, hey there, everyone. Welcome to the Kondospeaks podcast, powered by Agatas, and I am so thrilled to introduce our guest this week, and this is an absolute softball legend. I'm going to introduce her, so feel free to relax because this could take a little while. She's a three-time NCAA national champion for the University of Arizona. She's a three-time first-team All-American and a three-time first-team All-Academic American. Brilliant on the field, brilliant in the classroom. As well. She is the definition of clutch, still holds the record for the highest batting average in College World Series, which is crazy. She's a two-time world champion. She's a three-time Olympic gold medalist for Team USA, National Softball Hall of Famer, host of the Gold Standard podcast, and author of the Gold Standard book, which we look forward to hearing how we can get our hands on. I wish everyone could just rise to their feet, make some noise. But thank you so much, Leah Amico, for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be on your show today.
I'm going to ask you a question, and it's maybe not necessarily a fair question to ask. You've had such a storied career. I mean, we just listed some of the amazing accomplishments throughout your career. I don't know if it's even fair to ask, as you hear all of those different things, from what you did in college to Hall of Fame to national level to the Olympics, do any of those accomplishments stand out, whether emotionally or whether it's one of those that it's like, yeah, I still pinch myself over that one, or is it impossible to choose?
You know, as you mentioned each one, I can picture scenes from those years and those teams. And even when I got my first start ever at a Pan American qualifier in Guatemala with Team USA. But when I look at the entire picture, if I had to pick one, I would talk about the last day that I wore the USA uniform. And it was in Athens, Greece, and our team was going for our third straight gold medal. And I think it was just truly this amazing, beautiful culmination of a dream greater than I could have fathomed in a sport that I started loving as a little girl. And I was able to play for the coach who had impacted me in college. He was my Olympic coach that year. His wife had passed away suddenly of a brain aneurysm 4 weeks prior, just prior to us leaving for the Olympic Games. And so I knew I was going to be retiring. My career was coming to an end. I had a 3-year-old little boy at home that was waiting for me to get back. And there were so many emotions. And yet I knew, like, this was the thing I had to do to finish it and complete it. And so that day on the field, just knowing like this was the end, but there was still greatness to be achieved one last time with my teammates. That last day on the field in Athens is probably my most special.
Man, incredible. And hearing some of what you've accomplished, I mean, it's all striking to those of us who feel like just regular folk, and I know you do as well, but what a journey you've been on. And yet the heights that you've achieved have not come without some pretty incredible challenges to get there. I wonder if you'd be willing to maybe even talk about some of those, and Leah, maybe even why you refused to let the trials get the final say in your story when you probably could have, and you persisted and pushed through.
Yeah, I think no matter what level we achieve or whatever we experience, there's ups and downs in everybody's lives. There's hard times. You know, it's funny, sometimes people talk about trials, and I think so much is how we get that perception in our head. Like some people might say that's really hard, but I think, oh no, my focus is over here on what I'm trying to accomplish. And so there were a lot of sacrifices.
Mm.
I'll be honest, like I missed one of my grandma's funerals to be with Team USA out of the country. And that's
Mm.
hard to think, somebody who means so much to you that I would, be away. There were, later on as I continued to play, I retired at 29 with Team USA, and there were a lot of really big moments that I missed. And I'd say sacrifices were hard. I'd never really had injuries. I would also say just the mental struggle at times. The higher level you compete at, the
Mm.
more pressure there is, but also the greater people around you are. And if you're already an athlete that's reaching that level, you're the hardest on yourself. And so that level of
Mm.
expectation. And so when things weren't going well, I found out that in order for me to get through it, I needed to be able to voice it to those that were closest to me and then move past it. But I remember some moments of just, having that struggle. And, I'll never forget my coach had said, the way that you're going to be able to achieve greatness at this level is all going to depend on how well you can deal with failure. And I remember just shifting my perspective at that moment of like, I can't let it beat me.
I am really keen to know when in the process you said you've loved softball since you were a little girl. Was there a point at which you started to believe or reach for the dream of an Olympic gold medal, let alone three, let alone Hall of Fame? At what point does that dream kind of start to stir?
I think it was a stepping stone. I think it was one step led to the next step, led to the next step. So as a little girl, I was playing in my local league and I made the all-star team. And I just loved,
Mm.
competing with my city. And then when I was 13, I had a travel ball team from Southern California approach me and say, we want her to play for us. So a year later, we're representing Southern California in a national tournament with 52 teams
Wow.
from around the US. And we win the national championship. And I'm 14 years old and I'm the pitcher. And I really believe after us winning that, it all of a sudden implanted this dream and this
Mm.
goal of playing at college. Nobody in my family had been to a 4-year college before. It wasn't even really something we talked a
Wow.
lot about. But then that became this dream, even though I didn't know much about it. And I had people around me encouraging me, hey, there's opportunity out there. And because if you don't know, you just don't know. And so that became the goal, working hard in the classroom, trying to earn a college scholarship. That opportunity came when I went to the University of Arizona and earned a full ride scholarship. And it wasn't until softball wasn't in the Olympics when I was growing up. So I really believe
Wow. Yeah.
the big goal was college softball. But then right after I arrived at Arizona and we won our first national championship, they said softball is going to be in the Olympics. And then that was it. The second it was available was the moment it became the dream and the biggest school that I've ever had.
Amazing. Amazing. Now, take us back, though. You said um, pitching, but yet when you played on Team USA, that's not necessarily what you were doing. So something shifted in there.
This is a big part of my story because my second year in college, my coach actually moved me to the outfield. I had never played outfield before. And the reason it's such a big part of my story is number one, I had 2 years to become a world-class outfielder after never playing that position
Wow.
before. And number two, I had to buy in mentally. To go from being a
Mm.
pitcher, or I also was a first baseman growing up, and originally that's what he recruited me as. And I think today so many athletes are willing to jump ship and say, fine, I'm not doing what I want. I'm leaving the school. I'll go somewhere else. But the moment my coach said, hey, we need you in the outfield every day, was the moment I said, I'm going to be the best outfielder there is. And I was very fortunate
Wow.
to have coaches that really broke it down. I think more than most people, what people don't realize is when you break it down to the little things, you actually become better than everyone else around you that's just out there
Mm.
focusing and just going through the motions. And that's literally 2 years later, I was on the Olympic team as an outfielder. I would not have been on the team as a pitcher or first baseman. So I really believe that move and that shift, and ultimately the willingness to receive what my coach asked of me, and to do it with all my heart, I think that's what opened the door for the future opportunities and really a life greater than I could have imagined on Team USA.
That is such a needed, rare, incredible message. Very, very needed in obviously today's era of a lot of quick decisions, impulse, and that ended up becoming the very thing that set you up for the storied career that you've had, but did not come through an easy process. I'm sure you weren't celebrating when you found out the news initially. Were there people in your life at that point giving you or helping shape that perspective for you? What would you credit the ability to do what so many might not have done when that news was delivered to you?
You know, I heard it from teammates around me that had come in, and one was a third baseman and she was in the outfield. And I think her dad was like talking through her words because she would be so frustrated and she would complain every day. And all I was trying to do is like, how do I get this down and take something I've never done before and become the best at it? And I think that it's just that idea. It's part of that is who we are. You know, I feel like my freshman year, I was just so grateful to be on the team and not just to sit on the
Yeah.
sideline, but truly to wear the uniform meant so much to me. And I am a team player through and through. So whatever coach needed, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I want my team to win. And, you know, I love to win, but whatever is needed. And so, you know, I ended up my freshman year, ended up being a designated player, and I just that was my role. So I was like, okay, then every opportunity, I'm going to make it count. And I think that just rolled over that next year. And I think there was a moment, but I'm going to tell you, here's another thing. And I think this is how we shift our perspective. Because one thought that did cross through my mind when they said, okay, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm not going to be in the circle, I've pitched my entire life. Instead, I remember thinking, I'm going to have even more time to work on my swing and get it that much better, because I would have to come early and
Amazing.
throw a bullpen. And then you're trying to get your swinging in, and then you're trying to do your outfield stuff. And then you're doing team practice. And I would say, coach, can you stay after with me? I need to learn how to dive in the outfield. I need to learn how to judge balls. I need to learn literally how to throw like an outfielder, because I
Amazing.
had a good arm, but my arm would hang after I would throw it as hard as I could. And I had to actually learn to change my motion. And once I did, then it was like full board, you know, go forward, all gas, no pedal, you know, and just everything moving in the right direction. And so I really think how you perceive it and how you shift your perspective is everything.
You are considered one of the most clutch players, literally, in the history of the sport at the collegiate level. And I think a lot of that seems to stem from how you performed biggest moments, biggest stages, highest stakes, and you were able to deliver at such a high clip. I mean, I think of the Kobe Bryants. I think of the Michael Jordans in, you know, the tennis world, the Rafael Nadals. It's almost as though in the toughest, most difficult, most pressured moments, when most people are slowing down, things seem to be coming into focus. That level of mental toughness, that level of mental clarity, do you believe it's something that can be taught? Or do you think there's a certain degree to which you kind of either have it or you don't?
I honestly think it's a little bit of both. I think it's easier for some people. I think we're all wired differently. I am going to tell you, I played with some of the most talented players who in practice, oh my goodness, they were just unmatched.
Yeah.
But in big moments,
Yeah.
they struggled to come through.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not a talent when it came down to it. It was mindset and understanding it and recognizing it. And I'm not going to say I was always just this mentally strong person. Like I think I had certain things and I think I had enough fight in me and I'm stubborn enough that it made me just keep going. I'm going to figure this out
Yeah.
no matter what. And you are not going to beat me, because at times I
Yeah.
think, man, I played with
Amazing.
people that were so talented. How did I rise up? And here's what I think I realized. Even on my worst day, I think I still have the ability to beat you. my opponents. So even on days where I'm
Amazing.
struggling, I think, I'm going to fight and figure it out, and I'm not going to be satisfied until I do. And if you get me once, I'm going to figure out how to get you the next time in terms of as a hitter, or if I make a mistake defensively, I want the next ball hit to me. We did have sports psychologists at a time where, other teams didn't have it. And now it's obviously a lot
Hmm.
more visible and bigger for teams,
Yeah.
understanding the need and the mindset that is so important for athletes to compete at that level. But a lot of times our sports psychologists, for those of us, because we had just elite athletes, they would ask us the way we thought. They would ask us. So now I took stuff from what they shared. I absolutely. But what happened is I realized in that process that people do things differently. Some people, their thing is visualization. They can see it, they can
Mm-hmm.
feel it, they can smell it. For me, mine was preparation. If I went in and I put in that preparation, I didn't care who I was facing. I really believed that I can be the very best there is. And so I think you talked about focus when you asked the question. I think the ability to narrow down that focus, and for me in the biggest moments, I think my focus got the best it had ever been, and that's where I was able to just really narrow in and say, here's what I'm trying to do, and then I was able many times to do that very thing.
Amazing. Um, is this part of what you've now devoted your voice to sharing or to talking about? Because I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, you should coach. No, but it wouldn't be cool for you to coach just one team. You should coach every team. But oh man, how do you coach every team? So I love the fact that your world allows your voice and your story to be communicated to so many people. Is this part of what you've committed to writing about and sharing as you have the opportunity now to stand under different kinds of lights on different kinds of stages?
Yes, the book that I recently came out with, originally it was this idea of leadership, right? How do you be a leader? And the more I wrote it, I realized, no, it's this message, because many times we have the view, I go into a program and it's the ones that have been there and it's the veterans, or it's obviously the coach is the leader. But this reality of, I'm like, no, my freshman year, I still made an impact. I still went out every day.
Mm,
I might not have had the loudest voice, but how I did things every single day with excellence,
so
striving to
good.
get better, that is what the impact is. You show it first, right? And then when you get to say it and maybe you're in a role that allows you more of a voice, but people along the way are being impacted because they can see.
Mhm.
And you're elevating what you do, right? Every day we try to elevate it. And then other people around you, they get to see it and either compare or think, well, I want to measure up to that. And so with that, the book really, I just brought together, and it's really comes down to three different things. Number one,
Mm,
being reliable. So 3 R's, I would say. Number one is reliable. And that's that consistency, that showing up, that how you do everything. And when you do it well,
mm,
people can see it. And then there's the resilience. And that's the mindset you're talking
mm,
about, because we know that there's the physical, but the mental side affects the physical at the end of the day.
mhm,
And so the resilience, how much am I willing to fight? I tell people, you don't need to be, the greatest, strongest mentally when everything's going well. It's when things get hard, you start to see that
yeah.
character and who rises up. And then the last thing is really the respectfulness. And I have thought about that because
Mm,
relationships are everything. And when you come in and there is respect within a group, a team, nobody's living life alone. And the group can look different. It could be my home, my family. It could be my team if I'm
mhm,
part of a team. It could be the company you work for, the school, the classroom you lead in, whatever that is. When you have good, strong, healthy relationships and there's respect and
mm,
trust and integrity, and that's why I think that respectful piece comes in, because it's also how you treat people. I really believe if you have the work, the attitude, and then the ability to work well with others, I think you have the keys to success.
I don't I feel like getting up and shouting and applauding and going to church and amening that. That is, man, even as you describe that, Leah, honestly, and I think about the title of the book, it makes me emotional just thinking, oh goodness, you have millions and millions and millions of kids chasing a gold medal, and they maybe one day. And I love that you're saying, no, chase the gold standard. You can actually do that, and the medal may come, but even if it doesn't, where it will take you and the way to elevate the people around you, it is a gold life. And I just, listening to that feels like it's reframing things for me, even as I think about my own kids and about the things that you should be chasing. And I love it. It's like, you don't have to have all the talent, but you can. These 3 R's, that's just amazing. Sorry, I'm geeking out over here, because for the 10-year-old, so true. And for the 60-year-old, still so true. Such an inspiring message.
Well, and I think that's why for me, I put this together because I've been retired for 20 years, and I've been raising
Mm,
my 3 sons and trying to follow all that God has for me and to do it with excellence, serving others. And I want to be able to go, and not just when people are looking or you're making a certain amount of money, or right, you get the
mm.
accolades for it, but especially when nobody else is looking, how do I
Oh,
show
snap.
up?
Yeah.
And that is the message, because when you do, you're going to walk away. It's like when you take the field and you talk about leaving it all on the field. It's like
Mm,
leaving it all the whole day, right? Every day of just like emptying the tank and being able to just hold your head high, like, yep, I did it the right way. And that is a standard. And the thing is, it's not just one area, right? Because some people they can, show
yeah.
up every day and
Yeah.
they can be consistent, but they treat people terribly. So it's
Yeah.
really like all 3 of those things. Or they're really talented, but the mindset is just, they need to really understand like where they need to strengthen that, and that they can become more confident. They can, take those negative thoughts. I talk about limiting thoughts versus lifting thoughts. We all know about limiting thoughts, but
Mm,
I'm telling you, I have been around people, and their lifting thoughts are literally what took them to a level that even other people don't think they should be at. I feel like in some ways I was one of those people, but I've seen it around me as well. And I've seen it through coaching. And I think that's going to last you. You're going to go on to do great things in life outside of the sport, because it's a mindset about yourself and the impact you can make.
that is, that's phenomenal. I'm going to ask you one last thing. You mentioned some of the beauty, and I love the full circle for you in this way. You mentioned some of the beauty of the last moment you got to be on the field with Team USA wearing the jersey. And one of the key factors of that was the relationship with someone who had been there in your college days and college journey. It's amazing to how much you seem to um, hold up people in your life who've played a role in where you are, which, by the way, is beautiful, because now here you are doing this for so many people. But what was it about that particular relationship, or maybe a relationship, especially in those days, that you felt was so key for you?
It was my coach, and he did exemplify the gold standard every single day. And
Mm,
through that, he made every one of us feel like we were so special. And he saw us beyond the players that we were, and he saw us for the people that we could become. And
amazing, amazing.
literally, we felt the love. Like, I feel like so cared for and so
Mhm.
supported. And this is the best thing. He never let you get too high. Like, he would bring you back down, but he never let you get too low. And I think that's a great coach, to have
Amazing.
a pulse on where people are at around you. And my son just got done with his senior year of football. And one day he came home and he said, really, like, our coaches were talking with us. And you know what? I just can really tell they care about us. And as soon as he said that, I
Mm,
was like, you know what good leadership looks like. That's the stuff that is, you're going to go on that field and you're going to do your best because you feel cared for. And that to me, like, you want to go to battle when you know someone cares. Like, you're like, he would, even the days that he would give us, like, a hard talking to because he was frustrated with us. I would walk out of that meeting and I would be ready to run through a wall. Like, let's go. Like, that's a
It's
good coach,
amazing.
because it wasn't this beat down, you guys are ridiculous, and you walk away just feeling so discouraged. It was this,
Hmm.
I expect and want more for you guys, and I know you're capable of it. And today you are not living out the gold standard. So let's figure out a way to do it. There's a different response when you hear that. And so
Yeah.
that coach really saw us as people first. And I just really had a good relationship with him as a leader, as, almost like a father figure. And to this day, he's one of the most special people in my life.
It's amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough for, man, this legacy of your story and the way we get to be lifted up by it and because of it. And cannot tell you how much I hope every single human being on the face of the planet gets to read this book and hear this message and apply it to various areas of life. And where can one get the book? Is it available everywhere books are sold or downloaded? Where do we get it?
Right now it's on Amazon. And actually, if you go to my website, which is leahamico.com, LEAHAMICO.com, they can get the book there. There's a link that will take them right to it. And the audio version is coming soon. And it just, I'm excited since it's very newly out. It's only been a couple weeks, and so I'm excited to continue to get the message out. So I appreciate you as well, and just the impact that you're making, because this is what it's all about. It's using our voices for good, making an impact and sharing stories and spurring each other on to go out and make this world a better place. I really believe there's just that ripple effect that happens, and people want to be encouraged, and they want to be reminded that they have value and their life matters, and they truly can make this world a better place.
And amen to that. Amen to that. Everyone, please go get the gold standard right now. Leah Amico, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We again just wish you the best in this continued legacy of inspiring an entire generation through your story, through your words, and we hope our paths continue to cross in the future. That is for sure. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for listening to the Kondospeaks podcast, powered by Agatas. Now, Agatas exists to use athletics to provide opportunities for leadership and personal development, and ultimately real life change through Christ. Did you love this episode? Of course you did. So why don't you go ahead and head to your favorite streaming platform to subscribe or to rate and even leave us a review, which we would so appreciate. Plus, that way you won't miss any of the new content which drops every week. And would encourage you to head on over to Kondospeaks.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, discover other bonus content, and learn more about our sponsor. Kondospeaks is edited and produced by In the Loop and hosted by me, Kondo Simfukwe. Don't forget, join us right back here next week for another exciting episode. Until then, stay curious, my friends.